Hey everybody, welcome back for part 2. We're going to keep working on our girl here, and I am now going in with a liner brush by Princeton Select, and it is the Petite Round at 20/0, and I'm adding in just some highlights, little dots of light, kind of adding to some of the magic of the piece, using the cadmium yellow light and the titanium white. So here I'm adding some lights into the lips, and you're going to see the lips kind of evolve as I add color and light and dark to them. But since I'm using the oil paints, I have the flexibility of going back in and really easily blending the colors the way I choose to do so. Since I've got the red out, I'm going ahead and going over the acrylic paint where I have the little red flowers, and I'm adding some nice thick dots of color using cadmium red and a little bit of white, and then pushing the peach areas a little bit more too with using the cad red and even more white to really punch up the peach areas in the painting. I love this color so much. It's so beautiful, and I think it looks so stunning against the Prussian blue. Another cool thing about using color you're not used to using, you discover colors that you didn't even know you loved. So now I'm going to start to build up the blonde tones in her hair. I want them to stay very cool, as I mentioned before, so I'm using a little bit of cadmium yellow light, the white, and a little bit of the Prussian blue, but I'm going to build up a little bit of that yellow warmth that you see in the photograph. I think it's really important to remember that your photo reference, unless you're a photographic painter, you do not need to be tied to it. So when you want to make some changes, you want to deviate from the plan, always feel confident in doing that. Use the photo as an inspiration, as a guide, but then when you're ready to maybe go off the path, go for it. I knew that I didn't want to make her hair as light as it's seen in the picture, so that was a choice that I made as the artist. We're in control of our painting, so never feel tied to your photo reference if you feel called to do something a little different. And now I've added even more of the Prussian blue into that kind of greenish yellow mixture to create sort of this muddied down green. I've added a touch of red to it as well, and I'm just sort of starting to establish some of the form of the hair on the other side, which is very much in shadow. I think by bringing these green tones in, it's kind of a bridge between all the primary colors. And obviously we can see the green in the photo reference, so it's nice to start to bring it in. It starts to soften things a little bit. So here I've mixed up a blend of the Prussian blue and the cadmium red to create a very deep sort of blue purpley color. And this, instead of using black, because obviously we can see that her shirt is black, but it would be too harsh and I feel like it wouldn't connect with the rest of the colors. So I want to stay with the color family that I'm using and go ahead and create that deep tone out of what I have on my palette already. And I'm just going in here kind of in a very painterly way and just kind of painting around the red shapes that I already have there. I'm not looking to replicate the little tiny flowers exactly, but more suggest them. And of course, then I'm also bringing some of that darkness over to the other side and using it to also sort of carve out some beautiful negative shapes in the hair. I think hair should always look very rhythmic and curvilinear, and so a lot of times you'll see me kind of create those sort of forms in the hair that I do. And I'm using that purpley tone to also deepen some of my shadows. So I don't just use it in one area, I spread it around, and I think that's really important when you're working with color, is to move it throughout the piece. Darkening up the eyes a little bit here with that same tone, just to bring a little more depth to them. I'll end up going in and adding a little bit more light to them as well. So here you see me introducing a new color, and this is the Gamblin Radiant Turquoise, and it is a beautiful fresh blue, and I really just wanted to start popping some very bright blue, and I wasn't probably going to be able to get that with my Prussian blue. So I did introduce this color in there to get those really fresh marks of blue, and again you see me moving it around the piece in sort of some unexpected areas. I think that's really fun. And now I'm really intuitively sort of moving through the piece. I'm not, so concerned about the photo reference anymore. Now it's about color and it's about designing the piece and really making it all come together. I love adding little dots of color near the eyes just to bring a little glimmer to them. And then I'm just going through and sort of blending out some of the areas, softening some of the blues so there's a little bit more variation. I think this gives it a lovely feeling of depth and sort of shifts in color. So I'm going to go into the flowers here and start to add some more fresh dabs of the cadmium red and the titanium white, and I'm going into the lips too, and I'm going to push those a little bit more and bring them up to a deeper, kind of brighter really tone of red. And also bringing some warmth into the shadowing of the upper lip. Typically the upper lip is in shadow when you look at a portrait. So try and remember that too. It really adds a lot of depth to the lips. Adding in some more interesting shapes into the hair by using some of that darker green tone that we've mixed up. And just sort of emphasizing some of those lovely patterns that you can see in the hair. closing in the top right corner with a little bit more opaque darkness, just so that the eye doesn't kind of wander off that corner. I think that can be an important thing to pay attention to. You don't want to have it too open on your edges to the point where your viewer kind of wanders off the page. So I'm just keep kind of finessing the piece, sort of blending in some more darks, accenting some of the lights, and I'm really, just enjoying the whole process. Trying to deepen up that shadow under the eye. So I go ahead and put some color down, then take a clean brush and go ahead and soften it. So that brush there is the number 2 Monarch by Winsor & Newton, and it's a filbert. So now I'm going in with a tiny little liner brush that I used before and adding in speckles of red, like bright cadmium red, like straight out of the tube. And I'm placing little dabs of it throughout the painting. Again, I like to move my color around. I think it helps the eye kind of move throughout the piece and it kind of sparks things up. And I'm refining the lips a little here, kind of getting their form, and enhancing, that beautiful red pink tone. Adding a little bit of darkness right in the corners of the mouth and where the mouth joins together in the center of the lips. These are kind of the final touches. I love how the little sparks of red throughout the piece just kind of brighten it up and pull it all together. Some last minute touches on the hair, adding in a few more thinner pieces of light. I love adding those bold brush strokes of thicker paint and just leaving them fresh, as I've mentioned before. And there's that Monarch brush again that I love. Great for blending. Now I'm refining the jawline and some of the shadows here on this side of the face. Of course, the oil paints are still wet, so I can easily just go in here and add some more Prussian blue and then softly blend it out. So in the finished piece, you can see that I added some strokes of oil pastel once it was dry, and she is all done. I had a wonderful time